Welcome in Sidetracked here on Fitz the Bill, 106.1 ESPN Richmond. Join Phil Martelli Jr., head coach of VCU men's basketball. Coach, how are you doing?
Fitz, I'm honored to be here with you and face-to-face. Usually we're over Zoom or over a phone call, but it's good being here with you.
Occasionally over press conference with the tables separating and everyone else after. I think of the games I covered this season, couldn't get out to all of them, but I think all of them I went to, except for one, was a win inside the Siegel Center. Siegel Center treated you guys pretty well this last season.
Siegel Center was great. It was. I had high expectations and it exceeded every single one of those. So, next year we got to make sure that it's a clean slate in the Siegel Center. Our fans deserve to see us win night in and night out, and we do for the most part. But we got to make it happen every night.
Coach, I want to start here at the top with some big picture stuff because about 2 hours ago, John Rothstein tweeted out about Ryan Odom not wanting to play the return trip to VCU inside Siegel Center. He's a guy that has seen it firsthand. But as a mid-major, from a scheduling standpoint, how difficult, I know that's always the conversation each and every offseason, but how difficult is it scheduling as a mid-major?
Yeah, it's really hard. And it's nothing new for me. Most of the places I've been, it's been hard to schedule, right? Like you're good, you get the like, hey, you guys are too good for this, but maybe you're not quite good enough for that. Here, it's harder than it should be, I would say. We're a top 40, 50 program, right? We're a quad one game, and that's the buzzword you hear in March. So I look at it with a lot of these teams. I'm like, well, we're a quad one game. It's, you lose the game, you lose the game. It's still going to look like a quad one game, right? You win the game, it's going to be a quad one win. So it does frustrate me a little bit in terms of like, well, if it makes sense to play the game, why aren't we playing the game, right? Like, and I sit here as somebody that we don't get those opportunities enough in the Atlantic 10. We get a few of them, but I'd sit here and play. I'll sign up for 15, 20 quad one games, right? Like, yeah, it's going to be hard. We might not win, 25 plus games, but we're going to be really good and we're going to be battle tested. So for me, I'm always like, who are the good teams we can play? Let's go play them. Even as you go down the line, and it's like, all right, well, the formula now is to play the teams that are at the bottom 50, right? The 300 and below.
Yeah. And
win by 1,000,000 points. Yeah, there's a place for those games. You need some of those games. But I also look at it as like, who are the really good teams we can play, right? Who are teams that have a history, have a resume, have a style that's going to be, beneficial for us to play against, right? Like, so I always look at it that way. I'm like, why not play good games in good places? You got to do it in conference play, right? So us going to NC State last year, playing in that huge arena, got us ready to win at Dayton, right? Like, and playing Utah State, in a neutral, got us ready to play North Carolina in the NCAA Tournament. Like, those games got us ready for the biggest games of the year, and I won't budge on that.
And if you're a Q1 team, odds are you're going to be in the NCAA Tournament, so those games also help prepare you for the NCAA Tournament. It seems like the system may be flawed a little bit if you are getting these bottom 50 teams in the country to get these big level games while your top-end mid-major teams sometimes are left on the outside looking in. That's kind of where it feels like we've gone, at least from the media perspective of it, covering it, where you get a team that's at the tail end of Ken Palm for multiple seasons. They're getting to play the Dukes or the UNCs. I remember when I was working in Charlotte, Queens loved that program. Grant Leonard's done a fantastic job down there. But the first year or two of them doing the D2 to D1 transition, they were playing at Duke, at UNC.
Everybody in the country was calling in.
I was like,
now they're not.
No, now they're not.
Grant's phone. I've lived that life. Like, I know it. Like, when we first got to Bryant, they were coming off of, they had won one Division I game. Well, that was the easiest scheduling of all time. And my phone would ring and be like, all right, these guys want to give us this, these guys want to give us that. Like, that was easy. 3-4 years later, we're at the top of the conference, and everybody's like, we're not playing you. So I feel Grant's pain. I feel all these guys' pain. And it is. It's just and there's definitely conversations in boardrooms and meeting rooms somewhere of like, these are the teams we should play, these are the teams we shouldn't play. And the system has been gamed that way. There's a conference, a high-level conference that took away 2 conference games last year. we called every single one of them and couldn't get anybody to play us in a geographical footprint that we were in, and none of those teams would play. But then they'd go play each other like in a non-conference. It makes no sense. Like, then just keep yourself at 20 conference games. Like, that's just stupid. Like, it's just, I don't buy it. Again, there may be good reasons on the other side. From the side that I sit on, like, sense does that make? You're going to go play each other in a non-conference game, but your conference opponents, like, that's like high school stuff.
Yeah.
Right? You see that in like high schools that can't schedule because they can't travel. Like, so to me, I look at it as, look, we're a really good team. Obviously a great program, long history. Why wouldn't you want to play? And I mean, if you're scared to come to the Siegel Center, then good luck playing in all these other venues you have to play in.
So with scheduling, has there been conversations with you and the A10 and the new commission at the A10? Do you guys have kind of scheduling directives and how you want to schedule your non-conference to set up the conference schedule the best way possible?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about scheduling. Like, when we go down to our head coaches meetings in May, I mean, that's always a hot topic of conversation. The hard thing in Atlantic 10 is everybody's in a different place, right? Some of us can be more aggressive scheduling. Some are trying to schedule wins, and I get that. I do think that we need more from the middle. Some of the middle teams need to be more aggressive in scheduling, and I get it. You might not win 20 games. You might not win 22 games. You might not win 25 games. You might win 18. But I do think we need more aggression in that of like, hey, now with the qualifying that statement is it's hard to get those games. I get that. But I think we need to be more aggressive with that, and get more of those opportunities throughout the league. And there's some of us that are getting those, right? Like, in somehow, some way, whether it's going to Maui or playing in the Bahamas, or, you get Memphis to play and you get whoever to play. You're getting some of those. I do think we need that next tier, that middle group that's like on the cusp. That we need that to be a separator. And the other thing is we got to go win the games we get. And now our margin is much smaller, right? Our margin for error is much smaller. Like, the team in the ACC or the Big 12 or the Big 10 or the SEC, right? They're getting 20 to 25 quad one games, so they have a lot of margin for error. We don't get that. So that margin is small, but we got to go win those games, right? Like, if I think it's asinine to say that we weren't going to be an NCAA tournament team. I understand that was said.
That was my next leading question.
But if they had kept us out, I would have pointed to, Utah State, we lose by 3. NC State, we lose by 6. We lose to New Mexico at home by 3. We lost to St. Louis twice. So, like, we have to win those games. Now, there are other teams that would have come in ahead of us if that were to be true. And you sit there and go, like, yeah, but they had a million opportunities. Like, that's not fair either. So, we got to get the opportunities when we can get them. We got to make the most of them when we get those opportunities. And the reality is for us that you're going to get a lot of those opportunities in November. So I've always been on the, like, we don't want to peak until, like, January, right? February, like, that's where we need to be at our best. To now, here, you're like, hey, we got to be pretty good in November, right? We need to be good enough to win a bunch of those games in November. But then we also have to be really good in January, February, March, So it makes it a little bit tricky, but we're here for the challenge.
Good luck. That sounds like a fun time. I do want to circle back to the Rothstein tweet about Odom saying no plans to return a game at VCU this upcoming season, but willing to play you all in the future. That leads to the interesting clause that is in your contract. It was in Odom's. It was in, I think it's been
everybody. It's been everybody. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you guys are like the only school in the country that I'm aware of, at least to this point, that includes this clause.
Yep.
And I know you're not an agent, you're not on that side of it as much, but why do you think we don't see that clause incorporated more across the country, especially for schools like VCU or other schools that, in theory, in history, have been looked at as a stepping stone?
Yeah, I think it's really smart, to be honest with you. I used to always say that when I would hear that. I'm like, man, it's really smart. And for a while, guys were doing it, right? Like Shaka came back with Texas, and Will came back with LSU, and you had those guys doing that. I think Anthony Grant came back with Alabama. Like, they were just going and doing it. And now, I don't know, maybe we need to up that price, like for people to be willing to pay
$10 million
a couple $100 grand in this day and age to just like throw it away to not play a game. To have another team pay a couple $100 grand to not play us. I'm like,
Sure.
It seems crazy to me when we're all trying to save as much money as we can for, all the things we need now and revenue sharing and all that. But I think I don't know why more people haven't done it. I don't know if they're afraid of something or not, but certain schools where obviously coaches have been picked off of, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, that program's going to be good and that coach is going to go, right? You've seen that at obviously at VCU. You've seen it at the Utah States and places like that. I don't know why more don't have it, but maybe we need to up that number so that those games actually happen.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. And as a JMU alum, I've seen it with the football coaches at JMU, and I remember, and all JMU fans, myself included, will always ask, like, VCU's got this amazing clause in their basketball contracts, and we not incorporate into football, and it does baffle me that we don't see it more often.
I do wonder from the school's perspective, and I don't know this is like above mine, but as we're talking, it's kind of rattling in my brain. Like, I do wonder if those schools get more money on the buyout. They find a way to get more money on the buyout.
Prefer that than the game,
potential game. But again, for us, like, I'd love to have all those teams come in here, and go to them too. Like, I'm not, these neutrals that are popping up are great ideas and things like that. But I also like going into those road environments and having people come in and again, getting that taste. So, I'm happy to hear. I'm disappointed that they're not, it doesn't sound like they're going to honor the contract. But happy to hear that there is a future for playing them because Brendan Phelps, who handles our schedule, he will be on the phone with them almost immediately to say, hey, next year, the year after, and, if they're real about it, then they'll come play, I think.
I think he may have Rothstein tweet notifications turned on and probably was calling him immediately. But potentially last question on scheduling. Might not be. We'll see where things go. Is there ever a conversation around the Virginia schools of you guys, JMU? Granted, I would argue VCU's in a echelon higher than a lot of the other Virginia schools, especially the mid-major, low majors around there. But is there ever a discussion of doing a early season tournament style type of showdown, whether it's in Richmond? Granted, they probably need a new location because the Coliseum's no longer here. And I would think a lot of them would refuse to play at the Siegel Center. But is there ever any conversations that revolve around that, trying to do maybe a Virginia-based type of thing?
Not that I've heard of. Yeah. There was something when I first got here. There was some talk of, us, UVA, Virginia Tech, Richmond, whether it was preseason exhibition, whatever. There was some talk of that, but that fizzled. I didn't hear much after that. And then, it is important for us to get those Virginia schools and kind of bring some of those rivalries, or at least the feelings of those rivalries back. So, we're going to Old Dominion for an exhibition. James Madison will come to us for an exhibition this year. I mean, those are good ways to kind of get those back. Again, it's so hard with these scheduling formulas now to say, like, well, it's got to fit into this box, and some schools don't fit into some of the boxes. And, so I do like that piece of it. At least we'll get that. But there hasn't, from what I know of, there hasn't been any talk of, like, hey, because you run into, like, hey, where do you do it? When do you do it? How do you do it? Is it a bracket? Is it just a round robin?
Can you guarantee enough games for everyone to fill it out?
That's the hard piece of it. And then, like, narrowing in on the dates. I mean, that's what makes scheduling hard. It's not just, hey, you pick up the phone and you call whoever and, hey, you want to play? Sure. It's like, yeah, we play you, but where are we going to play it? When are we going to play? We already have a game that date. All right, could you play 2 days? Nah, we can't. We have enough, So there is a lot of back and forth with that. And that puzzle is not always just as clean as, like, 1-piece, 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece. But yeah, I mean, we'll do that these next 2 years. So we'll go to Old Dominion, have James Madison come, and then we'll flip-flop next year, and have Old Dominion come in, go to James Madison. So that'd be cool to get those games back. And I know our fans always like, listen to the history. They like getting in those cars and driving down to those venues. So, we'll at least have a chance to do that.
The old heads or the unks love talking about the old CAA
yes,
days.
They do.
So I know there will be probably a lot of people from the ODU faithful and the JMU faithful trying to rally the troops to get those
For
exhibition
sure.
games.
I hope they do. I mean, I want those environments to be. That's why we're doing it,
Yeah.
to have those types of environments.
Should be fun. Coach, I want to rewind to your early coaching days, and I want to go back to your time in Philadelphia with the 87ers, which is maybe one of the most elite names in all of minor league sports across all types. But
Do you know why they were called the 87ers?
I'm going to guess. So it's 1776 for the Philadelphia Sixers, of course. Did something happen in either 1887 or 1987?
It was 1787. I think it's when Delaware became like the first
No, I
state
would have
or something
never
like that.
guessed it was 17.
I'm pretty sure. I could be
Okay.
way off on that, but it's 1787. I think it had to do with Delaware becoming the first state in 1787. So
No, that's
it was it was 13 colonies,
Yeah.
and then
feels
they
perfect.
became the first state. So
I want to go back to that though, because today's day and age with NIL, people say it feels more like pro sports. We're even seeing it, and this is coming from a Sun Belt lens, being a JMU alum. I see a lot of Georgia Southern, Georgia State. They've gone out and they've hired these guys. Radford did it, but they've hired these guys who have the G League experience. I think when you were with the 87ers, it was still the D League.
it was still the D League.
Not
Still
to
the D
age-
League, and they were the 87ers. The funny thing is, there's no longer the D League. It's now
Yeah.
the G League, and the 87ers are now the Delaware Bluecoats.
Yes.
So I don't know why they changed, but they did.
So that experience, though, how did it help you? Because that's pro experience, and now you're in a pro-esque system at VCU and with college basketball. Did that help you at all?
Yeah, and it's funny the way it all shook out. So, I was at University of Delaware as an assistant.
Go Blue Hens.
And we got the Blue Hens, that's right. So we had, our first 2 years we were pretty good. That third year we won the CAA, won the regular season and the tournament. It helped that VCU, George Mason, Old Dominion left that year, but we had been right there. We were a semifinal team. I think those first 2 years I was there. We were right on the cusp. We were like a 4 or 5 seed. We weren't quite Monte Ross.
Okay.
Who was my dad's assistant for a long time at St. Joe's, coached me in college. Still one of my closest friends and mentors. We had those 3 good years. We had some AD changes. Our AD, Bernard Muir, left to go to Stanford. They brought in a new AD. Him and Monte didn't quite see eye to eye. We were good, so he couldn't really make a change. It just became very messy. And then those next 2 years, we were very young and injury riddled, and we were just okay. And all the nonsense that was going on. So now we get fired basically, and I'm sitting there in limbo, like, all right, what am I going to do? And my options were not good. I had one school where that guy was on his last legs, and I was like, well, he's not going to make it. And the other guy was, a low-level job in New York City that I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to live. My wife and 2 kids, like, we can't live up here, and like, how are we going to do this? So those were really my only options, and you're sitting there and you're kind of doubting yourself, and you're like, man, like, I don't know, like, no one wants me. We just got fired. We just won a championship 2 years ago. You're riding high, and now. So you go through that, and I get through, and this stuff with the Sixers kind of popped up, and start talking to them, and take that job as like, all right, like I got really nothing else, and whatever. And in hindsight, it ended up being the best thing to happen to me. It's just I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, and I'm like, man, that set me up for exactly what you said. This day and age of college basketball, so I always tell this, we played 50 games that year. We had 31 guys play for us in 50 games. I mean, literally, like, we're flying through the airport, we're flying through Charlotte, and you're like, hey, so-and-so's meeting us in Charlotte Airport, and he's playing for us tomorrow night. Like, it was literally, that's what was happening. That's crazy. Not all the time, but you'd have guys coming. At that time, not every NBA team had a G League team or a D League team. So, like, the Washington Wizards would send 2 or 3 guys up and down every once in a while, right? So you'd have them come play. We'd get, the Atlanta Hawks would have somebody on a rehab assignment. He'd be coming up to play for us. Mike, he played at UVA, really good player. He was with us for a short period and was like an established NBA guy, right? So, like you get those guys coming back and forth. The Sixers sending some guys down, things like that. So we would get that. On top of, hey, this guy got called up, that guy got injured, this guy, we're dropping him, we're waiving him, we're trading him. So 31 guys. And, what I learned was it was very much like the transfer portal, like quick evaluate. Like our GM would call at 11 o'clock at night on Tuesday night and be like, hey, we have a chance to trade for, for Jack Fitz. And you'd be like, all right, like you got to bring him up and you got to be ready at 9 a.m. the next morning. Like, are we doing this or not? Right? Like, and who are we willing to give up? So, it was those quick evaluations and having to do that. It was blending guys in quickly, figuring out, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, can they play in your system, not in your system. And then just managing all that. And honestly, to go back to what I said, like you're sitting there doubting yourself, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're coaching. We had Nate Robinson. Nate had won an NBA championship, had won the dunk contest, the whole deal. He's played for Doc Rivers, Thibodeau, this guy, that guy. And he's coming next to me on the bench. I was the defensive coordinator, and he come to me. Coach? Yeah, and you're going like, you're really asking me? You know what I mean? Like, you should be telling me what to do. But you realize, like, these guys want to be and we had guys that had come from super high-level programs that, again, I'd never been at any level like that. And you're teaching them something, and they would come to you, or you'd be watching film with them and be like, man, no one's ever taught me this. Like, no, and you're like, really? Like, and I think I'm just doing, like, basic level stuff. And they're like, I'm like, you were at this school, you played in the Elite Eight. They're like, Coach, like, we didn't learn any of this. They didn't teach us this. And you're like, it built the confidence back of like, all right, I know what I'm doing, right? Like you get fired, take that hit, you're like, man, like, I don't know, maybe it's me, right? You're like evaluating everything. Like maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job with this or that. And then you get there, and to have those guys like kind of be like, man, like I've learned so much, and you're like, all right, like I guess there is something to that. So, building that confidence, but also being ready for this day and age, I do think it was invaluable.
Now in this day and age, very successful year one at VCU, NCAA tournament win. Take me inside the locker room of that UNC game, because the locker room for me was in Parlay in Scott's Edition a couple
Which
of
I heard was pretty good. I heard that was. I got word over there that was pretty fun.
I think
over there.
I arrived 5 hours early to make sure that I had a stool to see it.
That's awesome.
And so
I heard there was people like couldn't get in, and they were sitting on top of their cars and stuff. It was in the streets.
It was packed, and just to give you the view of what Parlay is like, right? You guys go down, and my friend turned to me and he goes, "It's over." And I was like, well, we've got these beers to finish. I guess we'll just watch out the rest of this game. And then Terrence did what Terrence did, and all of a sudden it's overtime, and you guys pull out this win. And I think you said to Tracy Wolfson after the game, it's all about being resilient. You guys stuck with it. I think you even said, I don't know if it was you or Hill or someone, you saw them getting tired on the sideline. Like, what's going through your mind halftime on in that game?
Well, at halftime, what I said to them was we weren't ourselves. And I always feel like if we get beat being ourselves, like we get beat, right? Like hats off to the opponent. Like, and I just was like, we were like a step off of where we normally are. We weren't as aggressive as we normally are. We were like a little bit hesitant, a little bit unsure. And I kept saying to them at halftime, I was like, go be us. Like, just go be us. If they beat us, good for them. They beat us. They deserve to move on. But I don't want to walk out of here and feel like, man, like we didn't play like ourselves, right? And even in those first couple minutes of the half, we went down more, right? It went whatever it was at halftime, and then we end up down 19. Like, I started to see some plays that was like, oh, that was us. Even plays where they scored, and I was like, oh, that looked like us. Like they scored, or we didn't score on the offensive. And like, but that was our type of possession. And the more I started to see those, I was like, all right, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then you're just wondering, like, all right, is there going to be enough time? But we had been through that all year. I mean, we had been down, 17 or so against Utah State in that neutral game, second game of the year. Came all the way back to tie the game, and lose in the last possession. New Mexico, we were down 10 with like 4 minutes to go. Come back, have a chance to win that game. End up losing, but again, like that goes to the scheduling part. Like you play those games to get ready for that. So we had been talking about, like, we've been here before, right? And then we did it to start conference play. We were down 8 or so with a couple minutes to go against St. Bonaventure, come back and win that game by 8 or 10. And you're like, okay, those games got us ready to do that. And then those games got us ready to go to win the Carolina game. So it really was that, like, go be us. If they beat us, good for them, but let's go out on our terms. And it took us a little while to get there, but we did, and thankfully we did. But you could tell, like, we were just built for that, and we go so hard and we do so much, and like those guys are built to win those games down the stretch. And you could see, like, I think Carolina, they weren't expecting that. They weren't ready for that, right? Especially go up 19, you're like, all right, we're good. You start thinking about the next round, and next thing you know, you're like, man, it's a 4-point game with 4 minutes to go, and this is like a real game.
It was a fun game to watch. As a fan, I put on my fan shoes for that game, and it was a lot of fun to watch. VCU is a school, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, a reason why they have that clause in their contracts. It's thought of as a stepping stone school. And then I would imagine there's probably a lot of outside interest calls being made to your agent, maybe even to yourself following that game because of all of the headlines that you guys generated. You signed the extension with VCU. It ups a couple of the things in the contract to make it more tough to buy you out, I guess is the way to put it. But it seems from the outside looking in, you are committed to VCU. Is that some of your dad's influence in you, in that you saw what he built at St. Joe's and you're like, you know what, there is something to be said about becoming a legend at a school and sticking around rather than maybe chasing the extra few million, or granted I say that as someone not making a few million, but chasing the couple of extra bucks. Is that something that you think your dad may have influenced?
Yeah, I think there had to be that, right? Like watching that and seeing that. And then just my nature, like I was never a job chaser. And honestly, it probably hurt my career as an assistant, where you're not really evaluated on the team success, right? As a head coach, you're a little bit more evaluated on that, right? Mm-hmm. It's, all right, this team won, like he could be good at the next place, which isn't always true, but that's how it's evaluated, right? So as an assistant, you don't really get evaluated that way.
Yeah.
You're really better off like job chasing and just trying. And for me, I was always like, I want to get the respect of the people in the building, the people that I'm working with every day, the players, the coaches, the administrators. And honestly, it's funny because for 22 years or whatever it was as an assistant, I used to feel like, I don't know if this is doing me any good. But it did me good because that's how I got the job at Bryant, and was elevated at Bryant, because I had earned the respect of a lot of the people in that whole department and most of the people on the campus, right? Like I had just built genuine relationships with those people. And then to get this job was kind of the same. Yes, we had to win at Bryant, and we did. But because of the way that I went about the job as an assistant at Niagara with Ed as the AD, you had that relationship, you have that connection, and that allows you to get this opportunity. For me, I sit here as somebody 3 years ago at this time. I've dreamt about being a Division I head coach since I was 10 years old. I turn 45 next week, right? So that's a 35.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. It's a 35-year dream, right?
Yeah.
That 3 years ago, I was sitting there going like, man, like I've never been higher than the CAA. I've been at Central Connecticut, Manhattan, Niagara, Delaware, the 87ers with my dad as an administrator role. Then Bryant. Like I'm like, 40 some years old at that point in time. Like, who's hiring me? You know what I mean? Like I'm getting nothing. Mm-hmm. So I still look at it that way. I said this today to somebody that was in our building. I said, I still walk into that BDC and like, all right, like, are they sure? Like, am I still in the right place? Like, they know I'm supposed, I'm still supposed to be here. Like, it's okay to be here. Like, so, quite frankly, my dream job was in the Atlantic 10, and it wasn't the level that VCU is. So, and I get it. I get that there's people out there that have these dream jobs and whatever. That's not how I was. So, like, I don't look at it as like, well, I got to get to that place and this place. I look at it as I'm in a really great institution with incredible leadership. This community has embraced me, and more importantly, really has embraced my family. The way that my wife Megan's been treated, the way our kids Philip, Mara, and Nate have been treated by this community, like they love it. I love it, and I'm not going to curse, but don't blank with happy, right? Like I've heard that enough to know, like, hey, we're really happy, and as long as we're resourced the way that we are and have an opportunity to win a lot, I don't know how many games we lost last year, whatever it was, less than 10, right? So
8.
It was 8. So 8 times I'm pretty miserable. Like I can't even like, I feel like I've let everybody down. Like my ancestors, I feel like I've let them down because we lost a silly basketball game. And, so I can't imagine doing it at a place where you're losing, 15 times in a year or trying to build up. So
or more.
I'm good. As long as we can be good here, and the community still embraces VCU, still embraces my family, and we're still winning a lot of games. I'm perfectly content.
Granted, it's not been that often, 8 times at VCU, but when you do lose, is there something you do post-game? Like, do you need to get, like, if I lost, I would go and get ice cream or something, something to just wallow in the self-pity for a little bit? Is there something? No,
honestly, I kind of do the same win or lose. Like, I just go back to work and get that computer going and pull up the film, and it's hard during conference play because the games come so rapid.
Yeah.
I don't get to watch that game often.
Yeah.
There's some coaches that will immediately watch. Like, I need a little bit of time. I do need to decompress. There's some guys that, like, that game ends, they leave the locker room, they get right on the bus, and they're, like, watching the game. Like, I need some time to kind of recenter myself. It's just a matter of, am I watching that next opponent in a good mood or in a really crappy mood? That's really what it is. And it's really just going back to work. Like, I'm a big believer in staying consistent. I ask these guys for consistency with their work ethic, with how they operate, with how they show up every day. I can't not be consistent. There are plenty of coaches out there that, do as I say, not as I do type thing. I'm not one of those guys. Like, if I'm telling them, like, hey, we need to cut out this, then I got to cut out this. If it's we need to make sacrifices, then I need to make sacrifices. If it's got to be, hey, we got to make decisions that are good for everybody, then I got to do that, right? I can't be like, well, it's a so-and-so's birthday, so, like, I'm going to cut practice short. No, like, we got to practice, right? Like, because I wouldn't let them go, like, hey, it's your birthday, so we're just going to, like, I'm going to do half a practice, right? No, like, we got stuff we got to do. So really, I would say it's more that, I'm right back to the kitchen counter. I'm right there with, with my laptop and, whatever I'm eating at that point in time of the year.
Yeah, I won't say the team that I was with, but I did travel with the team doing play-by-play for him. And the coach, the second we got on the bus or the second we got on the airplane, Dobo handed him the laptop, and he was going through every single play, and I was like, I just called the game and I'm gassed. Like, I don't know how you. Yeah,
there's a lot of guys that do that. I can't. I need to, like, step away from it so that then when I see it and watch it, like,
clear
because
eyes. Yeah.
I did that as an assistant. There were guys I worked for that we'd watch that film, and if we won, we were the greatest team ever. And it was like, well, there's all these mistakes, but it was like, oh, that was a good play. Oh, that was. And if we lost, it was like everything was scrutinized, and I was always like, now you gotta stay consistent with what, So after every game, we watch with the team, a post-game edit, and it starts with negatives, right, which could be anything. Hey, too many turnovers, let's watch our turnovers. Hey, we give too many offensive rebounds. We'll watch that, and we'll teach off of that. And then we watch positives. So we do the negatives, then we do the positives. All right, our ball movement was tremendous. Let's watch that. Our defensive rotations were really good. We'll watch, that. And again, teach off of the positives. And then we always finish with winning plays. Little plays here or there that maybe get missed that, aren't in the stat sheet, that maybe the regular person isn't watching going like, oh, that was a great cut. But, like, we want to highlight those things. So I believe in that. Like, again, win or lose, like, that's going to be our formula. We're going to stick to that.
I could ask you a ton of questions. I don't want to keep you too long. We do have 3 questions.
Whatever you got.
We got 3 questions that we wrap up every single episode with. They're nothing too crazy. They don't dive too deep. Number 1 is, what hill are you dying on today? So, for example, right? Like, the saying, like, I'm going to die on this hill. A take that I'm just going to die on. One of the ones I have that I can use as kind of I'll throw it up to you, see if it jogs anything in your mind. Virginia, as it stands, from high major to power conference, all the way down to Division III. I've got the Indianapolis checkered flag from the D2, D3 national championship hanging up. I think Virginia's got some of the best hoops in the entire country on a per capita state basis, whether it's Not a lot of D2, but what we've got going on with Union and State.
Yep.
D1, of course, you guys, UVA, hopefully Virginia Tech. D3, you've got so many ODAC schools. You got Mary Washington up the road, CNU down the road. So Virginia as a state, some of the best hoops in there.
That's
now,
a good one.
You don't have to go sports. You could go, I hate it when people call spaghetti sauce gravy. Taylor ham versus pork roll. You know, there's so many different ones that you could go with.
Man. This one caught me off guard. I'm trying to think. I'm not necessarily, as an aspiring sports talk radio host.
Oh, okay.
That was my two things growing up. I wanted to be.
We got a spot for you whenever you want to come in.
I wanted to be sports talk radio or coach college basketball. College basketball won out, but that would be one thing. If I were to transfer over to that side, I'd have to work on my hot takes. I'm trying to think. Here's my current hot take.
Okay, perfect.
My current hot take is because the hot takes right now in my hometown that I love so much, obviously adding LeBron, like the parade is happening. My hot take is that they're not an NBA Finals team.
All right. You didn't tune into Fitz the Bill this morning.
And I hope they are.
On a whole thing.
Jameer is you know, he's very much up there. We were texting over the weekend. I was texting him congrats. Obviously one of my favorites of all time. I do not know Nick Nurse personally. His son and my nephew are in school together, and he's right. He lives in the same neighborhood as my parents. My dad's gotten to know him very well and thinks very highly of him. I'm rooting really hard for them, but I don't think it's going to go this like. I think they're going to be very good.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's going to be this like walk in and win the championship. I don't think.
I like it. All right, number 2. What's your favorite Richmond experience? Now this could be so many different things.
All right, I mean I have to qualify this as number 1 is the Siegel Center.
Okay.
So I will
Little
put that
different
there,
experience
and
for you.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll take that out of the equation because that's not fair.
Okay.
Squirrels games are cool.
Okay.
Like the Squirrels games. I will say like the food scene, like, and I'm not like some crazy foodie, but you know, like I've had some meals and I'm like, man, this is like really, really, really good, like really good. And I've done that a number of times, and I haven't been a ton of places, but the places I've been, I will say that. So that's been really good. I don't know, it's just like the pocket, like every little pocket is cool, right? Like you got the short pump, and like there's just something cool about that.
Yeah.
And you're downtown, and there's something cool about downtown. You know, I think there's just something neat about like all these little pockets that are really, really fun.
I love it too. I came from Charlotte, which had kind of a similar vibe, but Richmond has just a little more hominess to it. I would describe it as.
It's just a
more lived in.
Yeah, and I love the history stuff. So like, you know, we took the guys down to the Civil War Museum on Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Like that was a cool experience. Like to go down there, you know, to ride around and see some of those things. Like it was cool. We had that obviously in Philadelphia and New England too. Like you drive around and you see some of these things. You're like, wait, that house was built in like 1795 and it's still sitting there, right? Like now obviously it's been redone
to hold up,
to stay up, but stuff like that is really cool to me. Like I'd like to do that. I do have a friend who's got a house on one of the rivers.
Yeah.
We went and had crab. I love crabs.
Blue crab?
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
like I could sit there and crack crabs all day. That was a fun experience, and he's a great time. He's a you know, become a good friend, and you know, just a good guy to hang around with. So we did that last summer. That was fun.
Picking crabs is a fun time. I just did that a couple days ago.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Right, best experience.
I love it.
Last question: what would surprise people most about you? I think we've hit a couple. Sports talk radio, hosting another life, loves picking crabs. What would surprise people most about you?
I think it would surprise people to know, you know, given the position I'm in, like I'm not, I'm very much a people person. You know, I very much get my energy from people, but I'm not comfortable with like the recognition that comes along with that, maybe. You know, like I like to just be part of the crowd. I just like to blend in. I just like to be a normal guy. And I do this with other coaches or other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you see them and you're like, oh my God, that's the whatever guy. And it's like, you know, I'm just a normal, like, yelling at my 8-year-old or my 14-year-old or my 16-year-old to clean up their room, and I'm getting yelled at by my wife to take out the trash or whatever. Like, you know, just normal. I'm pretty vanilla. I'm pretty bland. I'm not, you know, I'm not like a.
You're not yelling on the sideline. You're not yelling in your day-to-day life like you are on the sidelines. If someone's only.
I mean, occasionally the kids, you know, push you to that,
that,
but not quite.
I would imagine, yeah.
Not quite, you know.
I don't have kids, but
they
that's
don't
me and
quite
my
get the
dog.
referee wrath that you know.
Do you have a favorite referee?
I have some, yeah. There are some,
Yeah.
honestly, like guys that, you know, have been around a while, or even young guys that have been kind of coming up with, and not favorite like, oh my God, that guy's going to take care of us, but like just, I like the guys that I can just kind of have the banter with, that I can be upset, but like we can kind of joke. I can like, you know,
come on, man. Like,
they can give it back. Like it frustrates me, honestly. What frustrates me is two things with that: inconsistency. I mean, I'm like, all right, like we're getting mauled, but then you just call that, right? Like that frustrates me. What frustrates me even more is the guys that can't communicate.
Yeah.
You can't like have that back and forth. They're like robotic with whatever. Because like I even like it too when they come over to me and be like, will you stop? You know what I mean? Like, all right, like I can live, because I know, usually I know that they're right. Like, all right, I'm being too much right now. And then we can laugh about it, right? Like I like that.
Yeah.
So,
as someone who got ejected out of an intramural game.
I don't believe that, Fitz. I don't believe that.
I'm a pretty competitive person. I'm really bad at basketball. And my role on the team was to be the big man. Didn't go too well. I thought I got fouled, yelled, got a tee, threw the ball down, didn't catch it.
Yeah.
So it goes up to the sky, and then double T, and then.
And were they student referees?
Yeah, of course
so like,
they were. So it was so rude.
Then you're like sitting in like, you know,
I go to
whatever class
Psych
the next
101,
day.
and they're like, "Aren't you the?" And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I got ejected. I got threatened once with being told if I don't shut up, I'd have to go to the. But I just wanted a conversation with them. That's all I was going for. So I feel you.
We should have some fun out there, and you know, we can disagree on a call. If we can.
And the banter.
Give a little back and forth. I'm down with it.
But Coach, appreciate your time today. Good luck in the rest of the off season, because we still got a long ways to go, kind of.
Yeah, we got 2 more days of workouts as we sit here right now. 2 more days of workouts, and then we'll give the guys a little break. Everybody deserves a break, needs a break. You know, so we'll give everybody a break here, and then school starts August 17th, I think it is, and we're allowed to get back started then. So, yeah, we'll that first week they'll get in, they'll get workouts, kind of a little more. Not relaxed because they're working, but we'll start team stuff that following week, and then the march is on.
Love it. Coach, appreciate your time.
Thank you.